Well, good morning. Good morning. If you're here early, good morning. I'm about a minute early, and that's okay. Got a little ways to go in today's live stream, just a little bit. And I think I'm prepared. I hope I'm prepared, not for lack of trying. All right. Maybe a bit of a struggle for me today because last Friday, I scratched my right eyeball. Ask me how I did that. So I had a little bit of an itch. I was kind of scratching my eyelid, and my eyelid was not totally closed. I don't know how I did it. I don't even know. But somehow, some way, I hit it pretty good with my fingernail. And so I am dealing with an eye that's constantly weeping. It's irritated. It still hurts. It's getting better, though. Thanks to God, it is getting better. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. I am showing it is 10 a.m. straight up Eastern time. So wherever you are, it should be going live for you in your particular time zone. And I did get my little pre-order in. I didn't have it expedited. Was going to do a short unboxing video with you guys. Decided not to do that because honestly, it wasn't a real big order. I zeroed in on the things I thought I would use the most. And one of the things I thought I would use the most was the Zinnia set. And we are going to be using the Zinnia 3D embossing folder today. Comforting Thoughts. This is an amazing sentiment set. If you haven't really looked at it, go back in your mini catalog and mini catalog. These are the online exclusives. Sorry, and really look at this set. It is amazing. And so we're going to pull our sentiment to the outside of the card from this. And then the Encircled in Nature. Love, love, love the Encircled in Nature. Was so excited to see them come out with another one of those sets. I do still have the older Encircled in Warmth, which was a Christmas set. And I have the Encircled in Friendship still. And off camera, I'll probably be combining a little bit of at least two of them. And then we also have the Encircled in Nature dies, which I have already done some of the pre-cutting. So when I was first looking at the dies, and I didn't have time, guys, to do a die cut of everything to show you a sample, but I was looking at this one right here where it's got kind of the lacy branch, and immediately I thought Christmas, but not necessarily just for Christmas. I also used both of these, and if you'll notice, these two dies have got these little tabs. And the best I could figure, because it worked out just fine, if you line those two up and space them evenly apart, you get a beautiful die cut out of it, and I'll show you that here in a minute. And then the only other die that I used today was the outline die for the flowers, which is these right here. Okay, we're also going to be coloring the flowers with some alcohol markers. And so I am going to first bring up my Misty, and I've got just a little scrap left. We're using Very Vanilla today, and if you want to kind of get a heads up, you're going to want two pieces of 4 by 5 1/4. One of them we are going to emboss with that Zinnia 3D embossing folder. You're going to want two pieces of Very Vanilla cut at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Okay. And then you're going to want your card base. And I made mine a tent fold. So it's cut at 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. We'll get there here in a minute. And I want to show you today how to make your own metallic cardstock. Because when I got ready to start die cutting, and I die cut that out using both of those dies together. Isn't that pretty? Well, I don't know about you guys, but we just got done with Christmas and I used a lot of metallic cardstock. And I found that I really didn't have any scraps big enough for this good size wreath that it cuts out. And you can also cut it out in. So when I very first started to play with this, I cut it out of pecan pie, and really cute, really cute, really easy to do. It's not hard to do at all. But then I got to thinking, we don't always have the money to keep buying that metallic cardstock because it does cost more than regular cardstock. It truly does. So we need an alternative to be able to put that little bit of pizzazz into our cards and it not um, be so expensive for us. And most of us have the tools that we need to make our own metallic cardstock. So for the minute, I've already got my little stamp pre-mounted. And I want to go ahead and stamp this. I am using my Hero Arts Intense Black. And I just want to get a good stamp on this because it is alcohol marker friendly. So we're going to ink that up, and I prefer to try not to do too much ink at one time. Just kind of lightly press that in. We may have to redo that a time or two, possibly. Yeah, it's going to need at least one more go around, and trying to make sure I get enough in the middle without pushing too hard, because you do have some kind of fine lines in this. And you've got a lot of detail in this stamp, and we don't want to use so much ink that we lose that definition in those details there. And that looks horrible. It moved and I forgot to move it back. All right, no worries. We're going to flip it over. Oh, and I've got some metallic stuff right there, so I need another scrap. All right. That's okay. We'll get it. I don't know why I wasn't paying attention. I guess I'm still kind of favoring my eye a little bit. Yeah, it's it's been a challenge, guys. It has. But I hope everybody's having a great start to their week. It's still winter here in East Tennessee for sure. For sure. It has been down into the 20s, at least the last couple of nights, maybe longer. I frequently forget to look at the weather forecast to see, just what we're in store for. But anyway, the sun's been shining, sky's been blue. We were blessed yesterday. Had an invite from my mother-in-law to come over for dinner, and it was awesome. It was wonderful. It was so, so good. So good. And I'm just going to, because that is intense black, it will tend to stain your photopolymer stamps a little bit more than like Memento would, but I really love that intense black. It's one of my favorite inks to use, and I do still use Memento. I do. There's a lot of times that comes in so handy. All right, and I'm just going to lift this up and off of here and over to the side because it is a hybrid ink. It takes a minute to dry, so we're going to lay that to the side. I'm going to take my stamp off, and I'm going to lay it over here where I know I won't fail to get it back in my case. And then we are going to get ready and start to make our metallic cardstock while that is drying. So I'm going to get out my piece of 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And I just want to show you how easy it is to do this. It takes hardly any time at all. And I'm going to put my Misty away because I really don't want to get embossing powder up in here. And, I am going to take off No, I'll leave my paper on there, but I've got one of my silicone mats up under here, and there's definitely going to be a time to use that. And I've got my Rabbit Hole Designs powder tool here, and I'm just going to use a light layer of that. I would rather have my cardstock on the silicone mat, and I'm thinking I will do that. So let me put this away, and I think I will move this paper out of the way so that I've got something for my cardstock to kind of grip to. And then I'm going to take my Versamark, and I'm just going to take this and run it down the sides. How deep, how wide you go doesn't matter. Just make sure that you get good coverage on that. And especially, I had noticed the first time I did this, I tended not to get down into my corners. And you really don't want to have to redo it. You can if you have to. As a matter of fact, one of the best techniques for getting a super smooth metallic finish when you're doing this technique is to do 2 and 3 layers, okay? You want to do 2 and 3 layers so that it comes out smoother with every layer of embossing powder. And yes, I have the Simon Says Ultra Fine Gold. I really, really like this powder. There's a lot of good powders out there. I'm going to get a paper towel and blot up. Let me get a little bit of glass cleaner here and just kind of blot this up, kind of clean that off of there, because I really don't need all this excess embossing ink. That's a recipe for disaster in my craft room. All right, guys, here we go. Now, we're just going to take this and get it all coated. Try and do one side at a time. Yeah, I'm already getting powder everywhere. I don't know how to use embossing powder and not make a little bit of a mess, because I do. I make a mess. Isn't that pretty, though? Even before we take the heat to it, it's so pretty. Okay. Let's get some more. Now, I think I've told you guys before, when it comes to embossing powders, when I order, I want to be able to order 2 or 3 containers of the same, whether it's gold, whether it's black, whether, no matter what it is. And I really don't want to be having to order 3 different kinds of embossing powder in one set, which is the only way Stampin' Up! Offers it to us right now. Okay. All right. Looks like I got pretty good coverage. I see a little bit right there where I may not have got enough of that Versamark. Okay. There we go. There we go. I see a little bit on this side. Okay. And a little bit right there. All right. Now, because this is silicone right here, I can lay that down. And this is one time, guys, where you don't have to worry too much about using the powder tool. I mean, I did. I wasn't especially careful in how I did it. And then I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to use my tweezers if I need to make sure I hold that down. And you don't have to swipe it as wide as I did, because honestly, we only need about 1/8 of an inch of it showing all the way around for our layer. That's all we need. And so as this is heating up, and hopefully it's not real loud in your ear, but I want it good and hot before I hit this. Let's see if I'm able to kind of show you the magic. I hope you can see it. I hope you can. Got to get it tilted more to the powder so I can get all of that pretty goldness going here. And this is one time, guys, you will heat emboss, and it doesn't matter if it's perfect. You just want to make sure you do have it all the way around the borders. Start that down here, make sure I get it all melted. I hope y'all are able to see this. Isn't that pretty? It never gets old. The magic of this just never gets old. I don't know when this, may have first got invented, or what the manufacturing process is. I'm sure that information is out there somewhere on the internet. I don't ever think to take the time to look that up and learn for myself. How do they make embossing powders? I think it's plastic to some degree that melts at a real low heat. And there we go. It's looking to me like it all got melted. Just double checking. Yeah, I missed a little bit down there on that corner. Now I've got it. But now that looks pretty good. I'm going to gently move it over to the side. And now I can bring my paper, my grid paper back in. There we go. And I'll bring this back. And that'll help cover up that powder that, it doesn't matter how careful you are, what kind of container or method you use for corralling your excess powder. It just doesn't matter. It's going to, all right, now I've got this back. It's just going to go. It's such fine stuff. It is going to go. All right, so y'all know I use my Ohuhu markers, and here is my template. It's not a finished card. It's just the front and using that Encircled in Nature. And I don't know, once again, I kind of gravitated to the pinks, and I thought we would change it up for today's card. And maybe let's do some purple today. There's going to be all kinds of purple flowers and yellow flowers and everything coming up this spring. And I'm getting excited already. I'm going to be using the VO50 for those of you who may have Ohuhu markers. I'm going to be using that for my darkest tone. And y'all have heard me preach it before. The artists, when they go to the time to give us their shadow layers, where the shadow should be, those details, use those. But also keep in mind that where two petals meet, where two objects meet, or one lays over another, you're going to have a little bit of a shadow in those areas. And so you just kind of want to make sure and be mindful of that. Now these petals here, need a little shadow there, just a little bit of one there. These petals here are going in a little bit of a different direction. And I'm not sure how interesting this may be to some people. And honestly, simplify it. If you only want to use like 2 shades, it's still going to be pretty. If you want to color it all in one solid color, there's nothing wrong with that. I just happen to have always been interested in, back when when COVID hit, and even before COVID, I got into that adult coloring craze. Now you're going to have a little bit of a shadow at the end of this petal because it's laying over this flower here, and the same for that part of the petal, okay? And you can follow what the artist has already put in, or you can ad lib and actually put on a little bit more. Definitely you can. And then we're skirting around the middle of this flower. And those two aren't touching, but right in here there would be shadow where that petal is laying over. And your shadow area and your mid-tone area, well, your mid-tone is probably going to take up most of the coloring. And again, you know, if you want to use colored pencils, because I got hot and heavy into the Prismacolor, I did. Gonna have some shadow right there. Gonna have shadow right in here where the artist has already drawn it. And then you've got this petal here that is also coming open. And let's see what I've got here. This petal here is coming up instead of laying down. So we're going to fill that in a little bit. And there's going to be a little bit of shadow here where it is standing up next to the middle of the flower. And I'm going to go ahead and fill some of that in with that darkest tone. And I'm looking to see if I have missed any areas that might need that. We can always go back. All right, so that was my darkest, VO50. And then for my mid-tone, and I have got V160. Well, hi, baby. Just checking by. Love you. Aw, that's so sweet. My hubby chimed in. He's never really done that before. So here's my mid-tone. Now, what I'm doing, sorry, it may be hard for you guys to see, but I'm literally going into my darkest color and coming out, and that will go a long ways in helping you to blend your colors so you don't have any lines. So I'm just kind of coming out with that mid-tone. It's not the darkest, it won't be the lightest, and just blending that out. And there's going to be some areas, you know, where you may not get as much as you do in other areas because of the different sizes of the petals, and that's quite all right. No problem there. If that makes you nervous, just cut it down to a dark and a light tone. That's pretty too. Nobody is judging at all. I still have a whole lot to learn when it comes to alcohol blending and finessing and getting better at what I'm doing. I'm not an artist in any way, shape, or form, guys. Now, I'm just not. I am not at all. I can't draw worth a lick. And I don't know if this is boring to you guys. You know, if y'all would just as soon not see me do this on a live, then let me know in the comments below. Because, you know, I'm not like 100% people pleaser. However, I do want my videos to be of value to you. You're taking your time to come and be with me, and I appreciate that so much. I mean, y'all just don't know. There are things that I wish I could take time to do on YouTube, and I can't. I don't have time, guys. I don't have time to spend. All right, here's my lightest shade, and it's VO20. I just go ahead and give the numbers. Yeah, they all have color names. And again, I'm starting in that mid-tone and bringing that out into the light tone. It's not going to take away from your lightest tone, from your highlight. It won't. It'll still come out to be the lightest shade. And then I'll show you how I did the middle of the flower. We use Stella a lot. And I'm just like you guys. I love my Stella. However, a lot of you may not realize that Stella comes in more than the clear that we order from Stampin' Up. And I'm going to be using one of those other shades here in a minute when we get that far to help with the middle of the flower. So I'm just bringing that in from the top and the bottom. In fact, you can kind of do little swirly motions, and that helps too, to help blend so that you don't have any harsh lines. And look, I mean, we're over halfway there, guys. And it hasn't really took that long. There we go. The one thing I don't like to do is to leave any little white areas, or in this case, any very vanilla areas that are not filled in. There we go. Now, another thing you can do too, let me tell you, you can emboss this with a clear ink, and that will help you so much. If you have an issue, alcohol markers can bleed out, and they can bleed out really easily. They can. All right, so here for my darkest shade on my leaves, I'm using GY43. Well, hi, Sherry. Good morning. How are you? Oh, not a problem. You really haven't missed very much, and I'll be going back over anything I might have already said. Not a problem there. So I'm taking my light. Now, when it comes to leaves, you have flexibility. And I'm simply just going to fill in. Mine is mostly going to be probably the dark area. And understand where this leaf is coming out from under the flower. It's going to be darker right down in there. How far up you take that is up to you. And some of these dark areas that have already been drawn in, I'm just kind of following that and then leaving it alone. There's really not any room to put like the green here. It's all filled in, with our black ink. And we'll go back to that here in just a second. And then for my mid-tone, I'm using G190, which is an olive green. And I'm just going to start in that dark and flick out a little bit with that. Some of these leaves will have more of a highlight than the others. It just depends on how they're drawn. That one there's probably going to have very little highlight. And then for my lightest shade, I am using the G130. And I'm having to really pay attention. I prefer using my brushes, but honestly, this one is so, this little bouquet, if you want to call it that, is so small that there's just not a lot of room to do a whole lot of blending. And so I'm going back to my darkest, my VO50. Is that my darkest? Yes, my VO50. And I'm just going to solid do those little buds in that darkest color. The buds would be the darkest. They haven't opened up yet. You can just see the hints of that new flower, which is so exciting. When you're growing from seed, or if there are perennials that are coming back from next year and you start to see that first little bit of life. Isn't that awesome? It's awesome. All right, I'm going to let that sit and rest for just a second. Move this to the side and get these. So for my darkest tone for the middle of the flowers, I'm using a Y210. And all I'm doing, like I'm not coloring, I'm just going to stipple some of that dark in there, not just a whole lot. Like I may have hit that 4 or 5 times right there. And I'm going to do the same over here. And this flower's a little bit bigger. Just 4, 5, 6 times. Just enough to kind of get that in there. And I don't know how well you guys can see, if you can at all, because there's black in there too. And then for my mid-tone, I'm using the Y260. And I'm going to take that, and again, I'm stippling. I'm just stippling. I'm just going to fill in a little bit of that mid-tone, pretty close to where I put that darkest tone. Let me hold it up again and see if you can tell now. There is another tone in there. In real life, you'll be able to see this so much better, I promise. And then the Y30 is going to be my lightest. And at this point, I'm just coloring. I'm just scribbling. I'm just going to run that through there. There we go. And as this alcohol evaporates and it kind of what I call resting and blooming, you'll be able to see that it does have those different tones in it. Let me pick that up again. I got stuff on there. Okay, now one more thing I want to do to this. So Wink Stella comes in different colors, and I have one here that is a gold. And rather than color the whole middle in, again, I'm just going to take and just stipple it. Just little bits here and there, just little dots. That's all you need. Because this stuff, let me just draw you some out here on the white. Do you see that? That's pretty intense. It's beautiful. It is so pretty. But you don't have to limit yourself to the clear Stella. But I don't know if I can hold that at an angle. I don't know if y'all can see. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to let that dry for just a hot second. And in the meantime, let me move my markers. I'm going to take this away again because we have got to emboss our layer for the front of our card. And if you weren't here at the very beginning, I told y'all to do 2 pieces of the 4 by 5 1/4, but only on one of them are we going to use that Zinnia embossing folder. And I thought it went well, even with the Encircled in Beauty. So here's the 3D embossing folder. And you do want to pay attention. The flowers are all going up this way. So if you're doing a portrait card like we are today, you want to make sure that you get your cardstock in there the right way up. You know, we're so used to taking one and just putting the cardstock in, but there is definitely, you have to make sure it's in there the right way. It is a very directional embossing folder, and I'm still not straight. I keep moving it and kind of get that straight in there. There we go. Right like that. I already have my Gina K Intricate set up for embossing. And the first time I used the embossing folder, it's kind of thick. And what I had to do was kind of loosen it up a little bit. It was a little bit too tight. So I had to loosen it on the side there where I can decide how tight or how loose I want to send something through. And one time was the charm. Let's take this out. There we go. Isn't that pretty? It's so pretty. I love it. I love that. It's so pretty. Okay. Let me move it to the side. But in the meantime, I'm going to take, and I don't know how, say it's already stuck down to my, it grips. It grips really well when you put these flaps down. Let me raise these in case you've never seen this before. And there we go. So I have, sorry about that. I guess I'm too low. So you have your settings on the side. I'm going to take it from 3D emboss back over to the die cut. And I have found that many times I can then take my settings here, and I've got it over on the looser side for that thick embossing folder. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to tighten it just a little bit for die cutting. And while I've got it out, let's just go ahead and die cut out that flower that we just colored and that I covered up over here. So we're going to get ready to do that. You can fold these plates in or not. That's totally up to you. I do, because to me it would just make sense to make sure there's no gaps in there for anything to fall through. And take this die out. Nope. Eventually, I'll get a hold of it. I didn't have that much coffee this morning either, guys. I'm going to lay that on there. And I do want to tape that down just to make sure that that does not move. So, I'll take one little piece of Post-it note tape there. Get this up here and run that through. I really don't have to hold that down. You don't have to if you're working on a surface that isn't going to slide. This one's going to want to slide. I'm going to run that through. Okay. Now let's get rid of this because we do not need this any longer. Move that over. Gonna move my plates over so it's next to it. And the next time I need it, I'm gonna pop this out. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Oh, it's so pretty. All right, let me get my die back. My stamp may not be back in the stamp case, but I'm looking right at it. It's not going anywhere. All right, let's stick that in here. All right. All right, has anybody started any seeds or anything like that for their gardening? Yes, I've got more magnetic sheets on the way. If y'all store your dies like I do, even though there's only 11 in this set, do you see how crowded they are? And they're kind of like on top of each other. I ran out of magnetic sheets, and they're supposed to be here tomorrow. So hopefully they'll show up and I can add another magnetic sheet in there and it'll be good. It'll be good. Now I'm going to bring my Misty back in one more time and got just a little bit of Post-it note tape on there, which may not hurt anything. But I want to take my sentiment and let's get ready to stamp that. And we're going to heat emboss it too. Let me get my cap off. I definitely do want some powder on there. Even though we're going to be punching it out, we are going to be using that double oval punch. It's been around for a while. I hope it stays one more year because I love using it. And I'm trying to think, hope this is a feeling better kind of day. And I'm trying to find it. I don't know about you guys, but I really kind of get irritated that everything has to be backwards. Let's see. Here we go. Right there. But I love this. This is such a versatile sentiment. You know, sometimes it isn't just physical when we, it's not just physical when we are not feeling good. Sometimes it can be mental. So, you know, being depressed, anxious, you know, all that kind of thing. And I think I've got that lined up pretty straight. I think that's going to give me plenty of room. See, I'm trying to decide too how far in to the punch I'm going to have to put that to get that to be even borders all the way around once it's punched. And I think that will give me plenty of room there. And then I'm going to take my Versamark and ink that stamp up really good. And I think I'm going to do this twice just to make sure I get good coverage. Oh, Sherry, the name of the bundle that I'm using, the main bundle that I'm using is that new Encircled in Nature that y'all will be able to purchase next month, the beginning of next month. It's either March the 4th or the 5th. I need to go back and look. I love this. I gravitated to this right away because previously we had Encircled in Warmth. That came out for a Christmas set a few years ago. And then we had another one that was called Encircled in Friendship. And I kept both of those because they're so pretty and they're so flexible and it's so easy to make a wild card. And then here's the dies, the Encircled in Nature dies. But yeah, love, love, love it. And if you really look at this, you can see where you can make this into a winter scene, a Christmas scene, a fall scene, a spring and summer scene. You know, the colors that you pick and the things that you do can make that so versatile. Love, love, love it. When I very first played with it, I took those two dies, and I don't know at what point you came in, Sherry. So there are these two circle dies right here that make your, I don't know if you want to call it like a grapevine wreath or whatever. And then you've got these little tabs right here. And so what I did, of course, I have it upside down. What I did was I lined them up to where those tabs were next to each other, and made sure I had the same width going all the way around. It wasn't hard to do. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? That is so pretty. I then took the leafy die. Isn't that gorgeous? And I didn't end up using these on today's card, but already 2 die cuts, and you have got a lot going on for a card. But that is just so, so pretty, so versatile. And at the beginning of the very video, and I don't think anybody was here yet, I was talking about, how we're going to make our own metallic cardstock. And of course, hopefully you saw that part of it, because I was really struggling after it was Christmas time. I was really struggling having scraps big enough to get something like this die cut out. I've got lots of small scraps where I can do like little stars and, just little hearts and things like that. But Christmas really took a toll on my supply of metallic cardstock. And, if you only get 2 12 by 12 sheets for $5, that gets expensive in a hurry, doesn't it? So I'm going to, that, as a matter of fact, that's stamped awfully thick. So I'm hoping it looks okay when we hit the powder on there. Let me move this to the side. I don't want to get powder in my Misty. I have done it. It takes a hot minute to clean up, so I'm trying to avoid that. All right. So I hope everybody is just blessed richly, having a good day. That's not too bad. I don't want anything around the peripheral. Let me get my brush and see what I got going on there. That may be something. Yeah, that's not even powder. That's something else. Now y'all see why I like that Rabbit Hole Designs powder tool. It works so much better than anything I have ever used to prevent that stray embossing powder from being such a nuisance. And once again, I'm going to heat this up over to the side. Hope it's not too loud. Oh, thank you, Sherry. I'm glad you like it. I am glad you like it. So if you're here, chime in. Let me know you're here. All right. That should be getting hot enough. Our heat gun doesn't take very long to heat up. It truly doesn't. Let's see if I can hold this right. Maybe you'll see the magic on this too. I got to get the right angle. There we go. There we go. It's getting it. Now I have to admit, I stamped that. I had pre-inked my birthmark because it was starting to get kind of dry. And that one there is looking just a little bit blobby compared to my original. It really should look more like that. But your time is valuable. We're not going to try to redo that. I'm just going to cool that off very quickly. And then we're going to bring in our double oval punch and punch that out. That's kind of thick. I'm going to make real sure that's good and cooled off. It's a little bit warm, but I think I might be able to get away with it. If not, we may be starting over. Kind of get that center and kind of get that straight. Punch that out. There we go. Of course, I had another piece go flying. All right, let's get ready to start assembling our card. And I want this back over here out of the way. I'm going to close my dies up because I'll flip that thing and I'll have dies going everywhere. All right. So now we have our embossed piece. Yeah, see that stray embossing powder shining there? I may at this point go ahead and bring my other paper up just so I'm not contaminating everything with powder. And then when all is said and done, after the video, I will go to the kitchen sink with my silicone mat and just rinse it real well and take a lint-free cloth to dry it. So I need my card base, and I have covered everything up over here. Let me get that. Okay, so my card base is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 4 1/2, scored at 5 1/2, sorry. And I did go ahead and do that a second time for the inside. And the very first time, I missed getting some of that Versamark, and I had to go back and do it. And you can kind of see that there. However, our layer, it's only going to show a little bit of the edge. So on the inside, I use 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then my very vanilla piece is 3 3/4 by 5. And we're just going to go ahead and put that down to the inside of the card. But I thought it really jazzed the card up to do that. I don't need to be using that much tape runner. The Gina K tape runner, and y'all have heard me before, I love it because it gives you wiggle room. If you don't get it on there straight the first time, you can definitely pick it up and reposition it. And I don't know what I want to say on the inside of this card. I truly don't. And so I'm just going to put that in there, and somewhere down the road, when I know that somebody could use this particular card, I will finish it off on the inside. And I really did not want to, try to stamp another flower or anything like that. Although you could, and you could with this set. My straight, nope. My straight, yeah, there we go. Got that in there. And then the one that we just did, where did that go? Here it is. So this is the one that we did on camera. But isn't this neat? If you don't have metallic cardstock, and it's hard sometimes, guys, to fit that stuff in our budget. I mean, it just is. Now, this is textured, and so I am going to get out my liquid glue to attach these two pieces. Tape runner is great. You know, you could use tear and tape, and that would be really nice and strong too. You could do that. I'm just going to use that liquid glue. Now for the front, it's 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then this is 4 by 5 1/4 on the very vanilla that we ran through and embossed with that pretty Zinnia embossing folder. Just going to kind of press that for the second. I'm going to lay my block over it. It does work the cardstock just a little bit when you heat emboss it, but it's not a game changer. It's really not. It's fine. It's good. And I'm going to go ahead and just attach this to the front of the card. And then we'll get ready to put our wreath together. Now, I told you guys at the beginning, I did do some pre-die cutting because this pretty. I love this very vanilla and gold. Love it. Am I straight? Sometimes I have to pick it up and look at it head on. Oh, yeah, Sherry, please do go back and watch the replay. Please do. I've been trying, I didn't know exactly how much you missed, and I've tried to kind of go back and recap as I go. All right, this one I did cut from the regular gold metallic foil. But again, I was running out of big enough scraps for that wreath, and the foliage die that, to me, just looking at the die in the package, I thought it looked kind of Christmassy. Now, it cuts out 2 at a time, and I wanted about 8 different pieces to make sure that the wreath was kind of filled in, which meant I had to run that die through about 4 times. And yeah, I've got more. And I may have extras here. I want to say I probably ran mine through about 5 times. So let me just offset this for a second and lay this here. And I was using my tape runner? I think I was using my tape runner when I did my original card. So if you take these, and they're already curved, so you don't have to fight them. You can start it anywhere you want to. It's totally up to you. And I'm just going to go ahead and start getting this glued on here. And I'm going to bring in my little silicone glue mat that's laying over here catching all the dust. And just put a little bit on the bottoms. You don't want to glue the whole thing, and there's a reason for that. And just start wherever you want to start. And then what I did was I took and just a little ways up underneath, I would tuck that so that it would look kind of seamless. But this is one of those times where it's real easy, maybe a little time consuming, but it's really easy to make that wow card for somebody. You know, they'll be so impressed. And if you want to, go around a second time, but I just didn't want mine to look sparse. So I made sure that I cut plenty of boughs of greenery. I use garden green on this, and I don't think I told anybody this. So I use garden green. Just going to kind of lay that under there a little bit. There we go. And some of this kind of free floating it's really pretty. You can get a little bit of added dimension and stuff to the front of your card without it being a nuisance to get it in and out of the envelope. But doesn't that just follow? I love how they did this. Now, is this the one I want? Yeah, I can use that. But let's use, let's see. Do I have another one going that way? I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. This one. I'll use this one. But absolutely, you could have a die cutting party while you're watching a movie, something like that. Now, right here where that's lifting up quite so much, I will take and put just a little bit behind that, kind of tack that down. And just anywhere where it may be really coming up too far, just tack that down a little bit. And you can still go back and tweak it even after it's on your card. If you wanted to put 2 layers and use two different colors of greens, a light and a dark, I think that would be really pretty too. But for this is embossed. And so I'm just going to simply take and dot my glue on the wreath part to make sure I get good adhesion. Am I getting out enough? I am. So yeah, it was really odd. After I scratched my eyeball Friday, it wasn't that bad Saturday, and it wasn't too bad until about Sunday evening. And so it's been a challenge. Then it hurts my feelings because I'm older and I don't bounce back as quick as I did in my younger days. And it doesn't matter how well you try to eat or what supplements you take. And yes, I'm taking eye vitamins and all that good stuff. Doesn't matter. It just takes us a hot minute to kind of catch up, doesn't it? This I do want to pop up on dimensionals. And y'all have seen me do this before where I've marked my dimensionals. It looks to me like I'm running out of my blue that I mark it with. That way there. I didn't have any bones to use on my sentiment today, so starting a new layer of dimensionals here. And we're just going to kind of pop this in the middle, but not upside down. Right about there. I just need to make sure it's straight, kind of center top to bottom, side to side. See if that's straight. That does not look bad. And now we're going to bring our flower in. And you can pop it up on dimensionals or not. I didn't. I just went ahead and glued mine down. But you absolutely could pop it up on dimensionals if you wanted to. If you have alcohol markers, you know, just sit down. I'll tell you what I do. And here's a prime example. So when I was getting ready to pick out the colors from my card, and I did little swatches and I labeled each one with the color. And if I wasn't happy, I kept at it until I came up with the combo that I really liked. Because, yeah, there's some bling going on with the gold metallic foil. We absolutely could have done gold metallic and die cut straight from that. It just so happened I had taken the scraps that I had and gone ahead and die cut it before I realized some people may not realize you can make your own metallic cardstock. So what do you think, guys? Now I am going to take that and put over there. And at this point, I have even lost track of my template. I'm sure I've covered, yep, I covered it up. So the first one I did, I used pink, and then I got to realizing, I kind of tend to do that a lot, using the pinks and the reds. So let's change it up because I love purple, I love teal. There's so many pretty colors to get into, but what do you think? So that's my template. It's not on a card base or anything. This will go into my little idea box. And let's take that off. That's automatically, and that's why I didn't add dimensionals. This is automatically going to have some lift because you've got a little bit going on behind that die cut. So what do you guys think? Oh, thank you, Sherry. I'm so glad you liked it. So, so glad. All right, guys. I think that is a wrap for today. Onward and upward. I will have a pre-recorded video up for you Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. And give me a little bit of time after this live ends to put in the description all the supplies I used. I will link to where I ordered this. I'm pretty sure I got that off of Amazon, and I think I got another one with it. Let me very quickly look. I did. I got a silver one too. So when it comes to the world of Winkostella, you have options. And so I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but look at that silver. So we're not limited to the clear that Stampin' Up sells. You can absolutely get out there and get other flavors. So I didn't do too well on that sentiment. It is readable, but man, I guess I got super happy when I re-inked my Versamark pad. And you can tell the difference there. Guys, I hope this helped. I hope there were some tips and tricks in here that will help you in the wonderful world of card making. And until we meet again, y'all be safe, be blessed, know that you're loved. God is good all the time. Bye.